Hi everyone, this is Faye with Lost and Wandering, and today we're going to talk about what I believe. So, until recently, I didn't really know how to define what I believed. And watching the YouTube witches online and listening to them describe what they believed in detail, I started to get a grasp of the things that I believed and the things that I didn't believe. The only ones I could really relate to are Charlie Says Go, the Four Queens, and those are the only two that come to mind. But Charlie didn't really define or give a name for what it was. She just defined it. But Kelly from the Four Queens, she defined it. She identifies herself as a pantheist, which is the belief that nature, as a totality of everything, is God. But they don't believe in a anthropomorphic God. They don't believe, or any gods and goddesses, whatever. They don't believe that there is someone in the sky looking down on you and saying, you shouldn't do that. Or, here, let me throw a little fate in there, kind of thing. They don't believe that there's someone up there, controlling your every move, or that you could actually, speak to or converse with. And that was almost what I believed. I could definitely feel the whole God is in nature kind of thing. But as far as the anthropomorphic God was concerned, I was a little iffy. I mean, I could see that. Well, then she described panentheism, and panentheists believe that God is in the world, and the world is in God, and God is nature, nature is God. We're in nature, so we're also God. But as a sort of conscious, I don't know if that's the right word, but as a sort of acting entity, sort of. I define that entity as just pure energy. You find it in every living thing. Every living thing on this planet needs energy to survive. And we contain a certain amount of it on our own. That's just our personal energy. And some might call that a soul, but that's what it is. It's energy. When you die, that last bit of that energy leaves, and that's where you get the idea of the soul. What I believe the soul, that the soul of every living thing is just a piece of one collective energy source. So it makes sense to call it source energy, and that's how Charlie defined it. I also believe in the collective unconscious of all people, everyone, and all living things. So it makes a lot of sense. That just explains a lot of things to me, and I'll probably go into greater detail on those things at future dates. But yeah, I mean, so that opened up a lot to me, and then from that point on, defining what I believed became very, very simple. The reason I can identify as a witch is because I believe that you can harness all the energy around you and the energy inside you, and use that to bring about, to focus it to bring about a change. But then you get into gods and goddesses, pantheons, elementals, any kind of other spirits. Well, the way I define that, like the way I explain that, is that they exist because we make them exist, sort of. So the way that we understand deity, in my opinion, is it's neither male or female, but we give it that duality in order to relate to it. It's very Libran in that paganism in general, typically, at least when you go into Wicca and Wicca offshoots, has a goddess and a god. If you're balanced with it, if you believe in balance, if you're Libra, like me, then you honor both of those equally. But then you get into God and Goddess, and those are two separate personalities, but they can't... It kind of turns into, well, one has to be good and one has to be evil, or whatever. Well, neither is good nor evil. So the way that you kind of explain that is by breaking them up further into many personalities. And each personality has many different names depending on which culture you pull them from. So then you get like crossovers of basically the same personality in many different pantheons, like Freya in the Norse pantheon and Aphrodite in the Greek pantheon. So that's kind of how I explain that. As far as choosing a patron, if you even do patrons, I don't know if I will. If you do, and you're having trouble picking, I would just... First, I would decide whether you wanted a specific type of god or goddess, or whether it would be a god or goddess. And typically there's two ways to decide that, or two trends that I see in people who decide that. People will either pick a god or goddess based off of who they wish they were, sort of. Someone that they would like to grow to be more like, and that's an idol to strive to be like. Or you pick the one closest to you, the most relatable one to you. Something that you just feel more familiar with. So that's just a trend that I've noticed. I don't have a patron. I don't really worship any particular gods or goddesses. Here pretty soon I want to purchase a god and goddess statue just to represent male and female energy. But as far as an actual named god or goddess, I don't really have one that I work with, speak to, or recognize. I do feel an affinity for some, but I haven't really fully explored those relationships quite yet. So I don't feel comfortable going ahead and just saying, yeah, this is my god and goddess. One of them is Rhiannon, who is a Celtic goddess. She is a war goddess, and I would just say that the reason that I feel very connected to her is because she's sort of what I am on the inside, but I wish I could be on the outside. She's very strong. She's very independent. I mean, I'm a pretty independent personality, and I'm a pretty strong personality as well. But she's fearless, and I wish I were. So with her, I could see myself easily becoming her, and she's something that I can easily strive to become. But another reason why I sort of align with her is one of her correspondences is the animal totem, the raven. The raven has been an ongoing theme in my life thus far. I'm not really comfortable going into depth, but suffice it to say I've had dreams about ravens. I have been in situations where what the raven stands for was very obvious. So that's one of my totems as well. Also, just as a side note, on the Celtic horoscopes, which, you know, I don't really believe that all these cultures have horoscopes. They might, but I don't think that the Celts did. But it's kind of fun to see what you think. But my Celtic horoscope is the Raven, and also my Native American horoscope is also the Raven. So it's just there's a lot of convolution. Another that I have is the owl, which I think most people know that's aligned with Athena. But I don't really, well, which is another war goddess, but she's also the goddess of wisdom. But I like I said, I haven't really explored those relationships. I do contemplate on Rhiannon often. Whether I count those as actual, like, conversations or, like, an expanding on that relationship, I don't really know. It's more like it's a pond that I'm scared is going to be really cold, so I'm kind of dipping my foot in a little bit, but I'm afraid to go in all the way. I don't really trust the temperature just yet. So, maybe it's not quite the right season to delve into that just yet. But that's just an example of God and Goddess choice for me. But like I said, I haven't chosen a patron. I don't think I will choose a patron. I just think that I will take on entities, if you want to call them that, that resonate with me as a focus for what I would associate with source energy. So that doesn't mean that that's everything that source energy is. However, that's just you can only take it one step at a time. By the end of my life, if I'm spiritual and committed to my path, I think it's feasible to say that I will probably have a god or goddess for every aspect of source that I can conceive of. That may be true, that may not be true, but that's where I am at this point in time. That's what I believe will maybe happen. But yeah, that's just kind of something I wanted to touch on. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to start a dialogue. Why don't you tell me who your gods and goddesses are that you worship, and tell me why you chose them. And I'd love to hear some miraculous stories. I'd like to know your conceptions of deity and all that lies between. I'd really like to get to know you guys. Please like and subscribe if you liked my video and if you want to hear more from me. So thank you very much. Bye.